Why did Concord fail? Because it was bad, obviously. So if you haven't already heard, Concord is shutting down already, just like 2 weeks after launch. And this game was in development for 8 years and cost somewhere between $100 and $300 million from what I've seen. I can't find a consistent answer there, but everybody's saying it's somewhere in that range. So around $200 million, I'd say. Regardless of the exact cost, this is somehow a bigger flop than Skull and Bones, which was estimated to have cost around a similar amount. And at least it's still around, I guess. So why did this happen? How did this happen? Well, a lot of reasons. Before the game released, the main thing I heard about the game was how dumb the characters looked, and I have to agree. They look like something a 12-year-old on DeviantArt would design. But then like a more talented group of 3D artists were forced to realize it into game assets. These designs are bad. I mean, let's just take a small second to talk about color theory, okay? Specifically color schemes. Now, as an artist myself, I'm not opposed to like rejecting color theory, but you should know why you're rejecting it if that's what you choose to do. This character in particular is really bad, I think, just in terms of the colors alone. You have mint, fuchsia, there's kind of like some yellowy parts, and then this dark blue makeup. But mainly let's look at the mint, fuchsia, and the dark blue parts, because I feel like they're the most noticeable and most prominent colors here. So these colors don't have the contrast of complementary colors or a triadic color scheme, but they also don't have the harmony of using analogous colors, or at least completely analogous colors. You could argue mint and dark blue are kind of analogous, but then there's fuchsia there, and it's random. And I like a bit of randomness in colors, but you have to know how to tie it together. The dark blue really contrasts with the skin tone, which is neat, like, you know, complementary colors are cool, but then it doesn't match the armor at all. And it's a similar value to the skin tone, which complicates things. So while it is analogous to greens like mint, the dark blue and the mint never really come close to each other. And dark blue and fuchsia are not quite analogous or complementary. Now mint and fuchsia you could argue are complementary, but you know, altogether these three colors don't make too much sense. Now, you could tie these colors together by replacing the mint color with a violet color, making things more harmonious, or swapping the fuchsia with the dark blue from the makeup, or completely swap out the dark blue with an orange color to make a triadic color scheme that really pops. Regardless, whatever you do, I'd also add whatever color is used on the makeup on the armor to break up the mint color scheme, both so that the makeup doesn't look so random and to break up just this blob of color here. There's just too much of it. And don't even get me started on this weird off-white color that they really liked using. It just looks dirty and flat. It's like, ew. The appeal of white in design is that it's lighter in value than everything else, keeping things from being flat, but this doesn't really do that. It's just beige, I guess. And that's just the colors. That's not to mention the plausibility of having like the elderly and obese being as physically competent as the others, or even close to as physically competent as the others. As like, yes, it's fiction, but plausibility and believability are important in fiction. Otherwise, a 12-year-old on DeviantArt would be just as competent as anybody more experienced, you know? The point is, very little thought seems to have gone into these characters. And so half of them look like you hit random on the character creator in Saints Row. And this is something that people recognize instantly. Also, if you go on Twitter or X or whatever right now, a lot of people are arguing over DEI in the game, which, if you somehow don't know what that means, it stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and has been very divisive in its role in video games lately. You know, many people have been accusing developers of sacrificing quality to make room for DEI for a few years now, with it really hitting its peak a few months back with the SBI fiasco. I've talked about it a few times. And so obviously people who feel that way are going to stay away from a game that makes it a point to put pronouns front and center when selecting a character. And yeah, that alone might have hurt sales a bit, but it's definitely not why the game failed, at least not the only reason. I think the actual look of the characters hurt sales more than the pronouns, but either way, the problems with the game didn't end there. No matter how stupid the characters looked, if the game was fun, the people who played it would come back, and you're simply not seeing that. I haven't played it myself, and it's rare for me to talk about a game that I haven't played, but going off of player counts, we know that the few people that did play it didn't stick with it for more than a week, which is a pretty clear sign that the gameplay is bad. I've also heard that it's bad, and again, I haven't played it, but that said, when every large creator that I've seen tried it is saying similarly negative things about it being slow, boring, or unbalanced, they're probably right. And now something that I know for sure about the game is the price. The game was $40 in a genre where its competition is free. In what way does this game deserve $40 more than Overwatch or Paladins? It didn't need to have been particularly good. And judging by the reaction to the open beta, it wasn't even good enough to compete if it was free. Why did they think this game was worth more than the others? Because they spent more or worked harder on it? It doesn't matter if the demand's not there. Like, I could go dig a hole in my backyard, and it would be hard work. But nobody wants me to do it. It doesn't help anyone, so I'm not going to get paid for it. Nobody asked for me to dig a hole in my backyard, and similarly, no one asked for this game. Not even too many people knew about the game. The game was barely marketed given the budget for the game. You know, we knew about Skull and Bones for years. There was trailers for years leading up to its release. But with this game, the reveal was only 3 months ago. And then there was another trailer announcing the beta a month ago, and then it was out. That's like a crazy amount of negligence, honestly. If you invested this much money into a game, there should be TV ads non-stop playing for like the past 3 months at least. You probably should have revealed it more than a year ago, you know, get people excited about it in advance, but no, it was just kind of last second and people weren't too interested in it. There's also the fact that some of the trailers gave the impression that the game was something completely different from what it is. It's a PvP game. This weird focus on a convoluted narrative that makes no sense in the context of the actual gameplay is just ridiculous. It's a bad, costly marketing gimmick that was hardly utilized despite the effort put into it. Now, bad character design aside, the game actually looks pretty. The textures and lighting and environments are high quality, but that's honestly just polish. It seems like the game is all polish and no substance. It really is the perfect example for polishing a turd. I guess you can polish a turd, but it's still gonna be a turd. If a game isn't fun with graphics that look like they're from like the Nintendo 64 or something, then the game simply isn't fun. It's that simple. And this is something that the industry really needs to understand. I mean, the best selling of all game is Minecraft. I think the game does have the potential to return as a mildly successful free-to-play game. You know, maybe not something that would completely make back the money, but at least come close to breaking even. But to do that, they would need to strip the game of its gimmicks, take feedback from the players on the gameplay, and focus on fostering replayability with rewards, progression, challenges, and other things like that. But I don't actually see that happening.
It's like, ew.